Hello everyone, welcome back to our Pokemon Battle League Week 9. This is Coach Ian of the Lake of Rage Qwilfishes, and this week I'm battling Dan of the Viridian Forest Entei. He's recently switched to more of a rain-based team, recently picking up Mega Swampert and having previously picked up Politoed, but I don't foresee much of a problem with the team that I'm bringing. So let's just get straight into it. So knowing he's going to have a weather team as his primary set, I was pretty right in my predictions of what he would be bringing this week, and he does actually lead with the Volcanion as I lead with my Ribombee. I'm Scarfed. My goal is basically to either U-turn out on something or set up some sticky webs early on, because I knew even with the rain and Swift Swim, sticky webs would allow me to outspeed either of his two Swift Swimmers. So I do end up U-turning out and going into Snorlax, who avoids a Steam Eruption, luckily, from this Volcanion. So then Dan next turn goes for a Superpower, showing me that he was pretty much prepared for either Chansey or Snorlax, which is problematic for me in that he has a check for the Pokemon I was going to use to check his, but good for me in that I can set up curses and nullify the check just by doing what I was planning to do. So I do start to set up some curses as he goes for a second Superpower here. I knew with my +1 defense and his -1 attack I'd be able to take it easily, as it's going to do less than half of what it did before. And on the second turn here, I'm just going to go for the Body Slam. It does bring the Volcanion down to maybe 10%, 5% HP, and he's actually going to switch out from this. I knew I could take another Superpower, obviously, because he would be at -3, essentially, at that point, but he does switch out into the Politoed, as I just go straight for a Rest, knowing that I was about to set up on this Volcanion. So it's the first time the rain is out, and I'm pretty prepared for it. I have quite a few answers, but I am just assuming that he's going to switch his Politoed out immediately to try to set someone up, but I don't anticipate that he's going to bring out the Garchomp here. So I do switch out my Sleeping Snorlax, and I go into Coltrane, baby, the Zeraora, which is unfortunate because I was really hoping just Swampert would come in immediately and try to hit me hard with its boosted rain and speed, but it's not an issue. I just switch out the Zeraora into Gyarados here to get the Intimidate, as he goes for an Outrage. Now if you've been following me on the Discord, you'll know that I've been regretting the Gyarados pickup, not because I don't think it works for my team or for my overall playstyle, but just for whatever reason each week it's not really working out for me. Maybe the fact that it's a Mega and I'm not really a fan of Megas in general, or the fact that it has to set up and I'm not really a fan of setup mons in general. But some factors have really limited its ability to work on my teams, so pretty much every week I bring it has seemed like a 5 to 6 deficit in my opponent's favor. So I do set up a Dragon Dance here, not figuring that he would be Scarfed, what with his Swift Swimmers available, but he was Scarfed, so I was unable to take 3 Outrages in a row, surprisingly, and he does knock out the Gyarados before it's able to do anything. So he breaks through the confusion as I bring in my Ribombee, being immune to Outrage, and I'm just going to go for the Sticky Web, and knowing that his only Defogger is probably going to be a Volcanion, as I don't think he's ever brought Defog on his Tornadus here, I'm pretty confident in the ability to keep it up. So he does switch in the Tornadus into a Moonblast, which I hit for more than half of its HP, which is amazing, as he goes for a perfectly accurate Hurricane on the next turn, which knocks me down to my Sash, which is thankfully up, and I go for a second Moonblast. Now I get really hampered by the RNG here, as even though the first Moonblast did maybe 55%, this next one does less than 44%, as he's able to survive. which allows him to switch out and get his regenerator, and bring in his Cresselia, meaning I have to U-turn out into my Tikal here, the Mesprit. Mesprit was pretty much brought specifically for this Cresselia, as it was a pretty big wall to my team, and I was just hoping to get a Toxic off like I do here. If he had brought in something else, the Toxic was fine. In games past, I'd relied on Paralysis with Glare and things like that, but anything being Toxic at this point would be nice. He actually goes for his own Thunder Wave, which paralyzes Tikal. It's not really a big deal. Tikal is not relying on her speed, nor is she really caring about any lost turns, as her job is pretty much to Toxic and set up some Stealth Rocks. So he brings back out the Tornadus here, probably anticipating the Stealth Rocks and wanting to get more Regenerator before they show up. And I do get off my Stealth Rocks despite the paralysis, and he's going to come in and get a Hurricane off even without the 100% accuracy. Luckily for him, he does get a Confusion here, so Confusion plus my paralysis means I have a pretty low chance of actually being active this turn, and he does in fact get the Confusion hit, which really sucks. I would have rather been paralyzed, obviously, wouldn't do any damage at that point, but it's fine. I have minimum attack EVs and IVs. So he's going to bring back in his Politoed here, set up the Rain again. I assume his goal is pretty much just to have Rain up at all points in this match, as he seems to have built a primarily Rain-based team at this point. So I'm just going to go for another Toxic, hoping to get it up on the Tornadus, but I don't. I get it on his Politoed, which is actually fine in the end. Politoed's going to be a problem, not because of any ability it has, but because of its Rain that's going to be able to set. So the faster I can take this thing down, the faster I can, not be swept by a Rain Sweeper. I assume he's going to switch out again in this moment, so I set up a Reflect, but he actually just goes for the Hydro Pump and misses, which is another good RNG for me. Wouldn't have mattered too much. I'm pretty bulky, but obviously it is RNG in my favor. So I'm just going to switch out into Snorlax here, knowing I can burn some turns of sleep. And he actually does mix a second Hydro Pump. I don't know if I actually saw that in the battle. I might have missed that looking at a calc or something. But he's going to switch out here. It's going to allow me to burn a free turn of sleep. I've not brought Sleep Talk, just like in my last game against Jake. And he's going to bring in his Mega Swampert here, who is not yet Mega. And he's going to be stuck in the Sticky Web, slowing his speed by 1. Which is good for me because I have a number of Pokemon that can actually outspeed while it is at -1, even in the rain. So here I'm just going to bring out my Ribombee, just assuming that I'm going to be sacking her off. And lo and behold, he does go Mega, and he uses Superpower actually, which is very nice. The 1 damage is definitely worth the -1 attack and defense. And Ribombee did her job. She's basically just here to set up Sticky Webs and maybe get off a Energy Ball if possible. But knowing he's at -1/-1, I'm just going to bring in my Leviathan here, as he's going to switch out into Spicy Water, the Volcanion. It's a good move on his part. He's going to be hit by the Stealth Rock, which is going to actually take him out, so I'm not going to be able to get the Leaf Storm boosted attack, and he's going to get a free switch in just as the Reflect wears off. So he brings in his Tornadus, which takes a lot from Stealth Rocks. It's going to do 25%. And I know I can't take this thing out in 1 hit, so I am going to switch back into the Snorlax, which can't really be hurt by this Tornadus whatsoever, as it is max HP, max special defense, playing for a curse set. So he does go for the Hurricane, and it does hit the Snorlax, but it does less than 25% of my HP, which is great because I still have a couple turns to get rid of this sleep condition. So I just burn some sleep turns as he's going for Hurricanes. I know that I'm actually going to come out ahead here, assuming that his Rain is going to wear off in the middle, and if I need to get off another rest, I can. If he misses a Hurricane, that's good for me. If I can set up a Curse, that's good for me. Pretty much every condition here is in my favor. He does switch out into the Garchomp, which I wasn't really expecting, as I wake up And I am confused once again from the Tornadus, as it does cause me to hurt myself again. So I'd say overall RNG is pretty equal on each side right now. I'm not going to be able to take a Dragon Claw or Earthquake, so I am just going to switch into Mesprit here, hoping that he does go for the Earthquake, but he goes for the Outrage. I do know that he's Choice Scarfed at this point, and Mesprit is just not going to be able to take out this thing in any capacity, nor is she going to be able to survive 2 Outrages, but I know that once the Outrage is done, I'll get the Confusion, and I'll be able to outspeed with the Sticky Webs on the field. So I'm just sacking off to call again, and I'm going to switch out into Leviathan here. It's a pretty good chance for me to set up, so I am just going to go for the Leaf Storm. Going to be able to hit it at least once, get the attack boost, and then survive an Outrage, and I'm going to be able to hit it again. And then, assuming that I outspeed whatever comes in after that, because I do have a Choice Scarf in this game, I'm going to be able to hit whatever comes in with a +4 Leaf Storm, which is actually going to be pretty deadly. So I do take out the Garchomp with the Leviathan, and that is going to put me at the +4 as he brings in his Cresselia. It is still poisoned, and it's going to take the Stealth Rock damage, and I'm not totally sure that I'm going to be able to take it out even at the +4, because it is very, very bulky. So I'm just going to safely go into Zeraora, who's going to absorb a Thunder Wave, which is very good. Definitely didn't want to be paralyzed. I know I need to outspeed the Swampert later. So he's going to take another round of poison damage, and I have the knockoff for this specifically, which I know is not going to be able to take it out, but it's going to bring it down low enough that the poison damage is going to start to rack up. It's not really going to be able to stay in more than one more turn, and if need be, I can just go for a Photon... It's not Photon Geyser. What's it called? Plasma Fist to actually take this Cresselia out, which I do. So I use a good old Chidori on the Cresselia, and it's going to easily take it out at that amount of HP. So Zeraora has been warming up for me in the last few games. I've had a bit of a struggle using it in recent times, in past games, but recently it's come about, done it in about face, and I've gotten some pretty good use out of it. But he is going to bring in his Politoed again here, and thinking that he might just immediately switch into Swampert in order to block a Plasma Fist, I am just going to go for the Grass Knot, which did have a chance of KOing, but obviously I got an extremely low roll as it wasn't even close to KOing. But that is going to allow him to take me out with an Earthquake. I don't think it really mattered. Even if the Politoed was killed there, he would have just been able to switch in one of the other mons and possibly force me out. But I'm not totally sure what the outcome would have been if I'd gotten that roll to be higher and KO'd, or gone for Plasma Fist and KO'd. But this does allow me to bring in Leviathan here and go for a Giga Drain to take it out, knowing that even if Swampert comes in, the Giga Drain is actually going to KO it. And he lets it go and brings in the Tornadus. So now at this point, I'm pretty much going to stop narrating turn by turn and kind of explain the 50-50 we had here. So basically, I have Snorlax and Serperior left on my side of the field, and Dan has the Tornadus and Swampert. Now, Tornadus can't hurt Snorlax, and Snorlax can't hurt Swampert. So in that turn previous to this one, where it was Snorlax versus Tornadus, we both basically had a 50-50 chance of winning the game, not based on any predictions we made or outplays or anything like that, but it was basically if I decided to switch out and he didn't, then I would lose. If I decided to stay in and he switched out, I would lose. And he ended up making the right pick. Just basically just pick one move. There wasn't really any right decision on either of our sides, but he picked the option that ended up actually winning. So he does switch in the Swampert here. He's able to take out the Snorlax, which allows me to bring in my Superior, KO the Swampert, and then the Foghorn Ear is actually going to take me out as it is Scarfed, and it's going to be able to one-hit KO me, even at 100%, with a Hurricane in the Rain. So really, the only thing I could have done there is I could have gone for a rest instead of the Body Slam. If I'd gone for a rest, his Swampert wouldn't have been able to take me out, even with a superpower, which would have burned at least one more turn of Rain, which I think would have been the last turn of Rain when Superior was on the field. That would have maybe allowed me to avoid a Hurricane from the Tornadus, 70% accuracy, which I don't want to count on, so I don't think I made the wrong play there. I knew that a Body Slam would be able to KO the Tornadus, and I knew that if I got a Paralysis on the Swampert, I might have been able to, I doubt outspeed, but maybe outspeed, get off a curse or something, or get off another rest to stall a little bit more. But basically, because Dan did switch in the Swampert, and I did not switch out into the Superior, which again, I don't think was the better choice because he could have easily gone for the Hurricane in either scenario. He did come out victorious on the end as he just had the better matchup at the time. So yeah, it was a really good game. I don't think the hacks really played any kind of major effect. I don't really consider any of my moves to be the wrong moves. I don't consider Dan to have outplayed me. I don't think I outplayed Dan. I don't think I threw. I think it just came down to each circumstance just kind of led us both down basically the equal amount of percentage from victory until we were both at 50-50 with that last move. So it was a really interesting battle. Glad there wasn't any BS or anything like that. And the only thing I'm kind of regretting is not going for the Plasma Fists on Zeraora. But I still feel like the good anticipation on my end was to assume that Swampert would try to come in on a Plasma Fist, not knowing that I had the Grass Knot, and maybe even assuming that the Grass Knot wouldn't KO. But yeah, good game. I don't know. I'd have to calculate again where this puts me at in the differentials for playoffs, but nobody's out yet, even after this. But I think I have to have a pretty good rest of the season, and not really anticipating that, as if you've watched my videos, you know that I'm not really a fan of my team this year, even though I'm never really a fan. It's just not really working out for me the way I'd hoped. But whatever, I'm ready for the next season, no matter what kind of meta or changes we do, even if we stick with this format. But anyway, next week I will be battling Raul of the Something City Somethings, and that's going to be a good match. I will not be commentating it. Raul is the home team for that battle. So I will get back to you in, I think, 2 weeks when we get back to our divisional matchups, where I will be playing, I think, Greg, assuming that it's kind of snake order for the divisional matchups. So I will talk to you then. Hope you watch the rest of our videos, and I hope you stick along for the playoffs and our finals. Till then, I will see you later.